Happy Friday. It's time for the Richard Skipper Friday Wrap-Up Show. Who and what are you celebrating today? Richard Skipper believes every day is worth celebrating. But today, we wrap up the week with a dose of positivity. You never know who might show up or what might happen, so get ready. Your skipper is now coming on board, and we are ready to set sail. All aboard!
Happy Friday, everyone, and happy flip-flop day. Now, this is not flip-flop day as in government flip-flopping. This is flip-flop as in it's time to get ready for summer, which is coming up next week. I grew up in Myrtle Beach, or just outside of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. My dear friend Sherry Callahan is here, who lives in Myrtle Beach now. We've never met, but we have met through the magic of technology. She lives in Myrtle Beach, but I grew up there. I left when I was 18 years old to come to New York, and I have not been home since before COVID. So it's been almost 5 years since I was last in Myrtle Beach. But I grew up working at Grand Strand Amusement Park. Interestingly enough, today is also the anniversary of the Cyclone in Coney Island opening. And I grew up, I was petrified of roller coasters. When I was in around 17, I had a crush on this girl that I worked with. And yes, it was a girl that I had a crush on. And I loved her so much that I agreed to ride the roller coaster with her on my last night at Grand Strand Amusement Park. So we all get on the roller coaster, and just as we got on the roller coaster, they strapped me in, and everybody got off, and they sent me around by myself. I have never been so petrified in my life. I've never been on a roller coaster since then, and I've never dated a girl since then either. So that's the funny thing about that. But it's a true story, you know. But I love summer. I love the beach. I am going to be performing in Provincetown. I am very excited to tell. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to be performing at the Post Office Cafe on August 5th, which is the actual anniversary of my arriving in New York. I have this show called The Magic of Believing. But this show is going to be very centric to my years in Provincetown. But the last time that when I first did this show in New York, I had an incredible closing number that was written by two incredible men, and one of them happens to be here right now. I'm going to bring him on right now. Michael Colby, I am so thrilled that you're here. You and Alex Colby wrote my closing number for The Magic of Believing. And so you're like a good luck charm for me.
Alec Ryback.
What did I say?
I think you said Alec Colby, but
Alex Ryback.
So
Alex Ryback. Of course, it's Alex Ryback. That's where my brain went. But first of all, how are you? Who or what are you celebrating? And are you a summer or beach person?
Oh God, no. I'm strictly winter. There's a song that Jamie DeRoy sings about Jews don't camp.
Right.
Well, I went away to sleepaway camp, and I could have swum back if the lake were long enough. But
I do have a picture of you on the beach. Here you are. You.
Yes, Camp Swago.
You don't look too petrified.
This was the camp I liked. The camp I didn't like was the one they wanted me to go back to. This was the summer I had met Lerner and I spoke to Lerner and Lowe, who were writing Camelot at the Algonquin, which was my family owned it from 1946 through 1987, and Frederick Lowe told me, you'd be perfect for the page in Camelot. And I said, I would. Oh, I love that. What's a page? And then I went to Camp Swago, and I got all the leads in all the shows. And when I came back, they cast a professional whom I met at a party. I think you were there, and I didn't go there, but I went to the opening night of Camelot. Right, that was my consolation prize in my first opening night, which I will never forget. So, thank you, Cam, for leading to that somehow.
But I mean, you are, as everyone, you've been on the show a few times, and we've talked about the fact that you are the Algonquin Kid. You have a show about your growing up in the Algonquin Hotel. Thank God they've gone back to having some music there. Kate
Yeah,
Sullivan is there again, thank God. And
Katie Sullivan.
so I'm glad that they're bringing some semblance of that back. But you've got a lot of, I mean, you haven't stopped. You continue to write, and you've got a big project that you're working on now that we're going to talk about.
It has been a very prolific time for me. Last year at Urban Stages, they have a series in the winter called Winter Rhythms, and Francis Hill and Sue Metsuki and Tom Toast, because I had 3 successful shows there before, in previous seasons. They said, "What have you got up your sleeve?"
Hmm.
And I had been contacted during the COVID hiatus from a lot of actors. Do you have any material I could prepare during this time when I got nothing much to do? And so last December, I did an evening and an afternoon of story songs in which every one of these actors, young, a whole bunch of wonderful newcomers, and a whole bunch of great veterans. They all did their numbers. And one of the few holdover producers of show albums, John Yap of J Records, saw the show and loved it. And between performances, we went into a studio and recorded everyone's great performances. And today is the official launch.
Yes,
So
thank you for being here. And we have a clip. One of the songs that's on this CD is sung by our mutual friend, Maureen Taylor.
actually, this is another album. These story songs are all over 4 minutes, but Maureen did a cabaret show that was up for
Well,
a match
why did you send me a song that's not on the CD?
because that was the only one under 4 minutes. Everything else is over 4 minutes. But
Well, we're not going to hear a song from Other Lives.
okay,
Okay. Which is what I thought we were going to be doing.
yeah. Well, as I told you, I'm not allowed to do that without the actor's permission, and I didn't have time to get that. So, but this is just typical. Maureen is on the album of Other Lives, and this is a sample of her show and the sample of the work I do as a lyricist.
So we will listen to a song that is not from Other Lives, everyone, but that's show business, and then we will bring on our next guest. This is not from Other Lives, a show that is launching today. But Maureen, we love you anyway, and here you are.
When people ask, is there a God? What is the proof? The lightning rod. What lets me see that he or she gave us this world I love so? I just know the wonder of a baby's face, the grand design of time and space, as nature shines and sends us signs. God's there to guide as we go. I just know. In times of pain and plight, there comes a light that sees us through. And though not in plain sight, it burns bright in all we do. The feeling's there within my heart. I need no proof, in full of part. When I see spring, hear voices sing, watch gardens bloom and grow, I just just know, without an angel's call, words on a wall, or parting sea, through blessings large and small, God is always real to me. When cynics say the Bible shares no truth or lessons worth our prayers, and God's a myth, I answer with what I can show. How every day proves in some way a higher force must be the source through wondrous things high and low. I just
I just know that I love Maureen Taylor. And I love that song. It's great. It's a great song. It's too bad that you didn't put it on this CD anyway, Michael.
No, it's on CD, but really, I had to get clearance, and I didn't have. And most of the songs are over 4 minutes. I sent you one that was 4 minutes, and you said it was too long.
No, it's too long because we want to get our next guest on here.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out if he is a beach person. He truly is one of my favorite people in this business. And I'm lucky to have him today. We're all lucky to have him today because he's the busiest person in show business. He's always working. When he's not Doris Deer, he's Ray DeForest. And today we get him as Ray DeForest. Hello, Ray. Other Lives. There you are. How are you, Ray?
I'm good. Oh my God, I have so much. First of all, I'm celebrating Flip Flop Day as well with my custom Doris Deer flip flop that I'm wearing.
Now, how do the rest of us get Doris Deer flip flop?
You can go on my website and go to my store because it's all about merch, darling. You have to have merch.
It's all about the merch.
It's all about the merch.
I'm going to get some Doris Deer flip flops and I'm going to wear them. And I'm going to wear them all over Provincetown.
Yes, and I just came back from Provincetown.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
I want to begin, first of all, I have a picture of you on the beach.
Ah!
And
for that waist.
You you haven't changed a bit.
Waist not, whatnot.
Yeah.
That is 1963, Long Beach Island, where my family, we would summer in Long Beach Island in New Jersey.
So let me ask you, first of all, had you performed in Provincetown before?
No, that was my first time performing. I got invited to the Cabaret Festival and I taught a 2.5-hour class. And then I coached several singers. And then it's quite a week. You end up doing a lot of things. I did a show which got first I was on Saturday night for 70 minutes. Then the club made a mistake. And then all of a sudden I got there and it got moved to Thursday night, but only 45 minutes. I had to rewrite the entire brand new show. It was so crazy. But you know what? In the long run, it was an unbelievable experience. It was a great way to go to P-Town and get introduced because there might be a few drag queens in P-Town doing shows.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I was the headliner at the very first Cabaret Fest. And this was before Patricia Fitzpatrick, who does a yeoman's job with everything because it does a lot. I don't know if she's watching. If she is, we bow to her because I don't know how she does it. But it is a lot of work. And I'll tell you, I mean, the first time that I went to Provincetown was in 1998. This was pre-Danny. And I went to meet someone that I was dating at the time. I stepped off the bus and I was in the middle of Carnival, which is in August.
Oh, yeah.
There were rainbow flags everywhere. And I felt like I had stepped into gay Disneyland.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the most magical, wonderful place that I had ever been in my life. And what was so wonderful about it was that every single night I saw Jimmy James, I saw an incredible entertainer named Randy Allen, who is no longer with us, and I saw Big Ed, who is no longer with us, and I saw so many entertainers that unfortunately are no longer with us.
Yeah.
But every single night I sat in the audience and I kept saying, I want to be here. I want to perform. And there is nothing like performing in Provincetown. I don't know what your experience was like there, but for most artists that go into Provincetown, you have to hawk your show. Was that your experience as well?
So we did not have to do that for Cabaret Fest. It was our shows, every show was absolutely packed to the rafters. They redid, it was held this year at the Crown and Anchor. The Crown and Anchor just redid their cabaret room. It's really quite lovely. And it has one of the best sound systems I have ever sung on. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. And we were just packed. And it was just such a great experience. Plus, I know so many of the wonderful artists up there who are doing shows in drag. And I got to see so many of their shows. And it was just the whole experience was, and I've been up there many times. We go up there, a very close friend of ours, John, lives up there, and we go up there quite often. And it's such a beautiful village on the water. It's so picturesque. And, that first week of June, like the climbing roses are blooming everywhere, these cottages. It's just something that you kind of imagine it to be, and it's that and more. And it's just magical. I would get up in the morning, which, I don't normally do. And I would just go and walk. Low tide would be in, and you could walk way out, and the boats are sitting on the sand because the water's, and there's crabs and you just walk along the water. It's so beautiful, and the sun comes up. It's just pure magic in so many ways.
Michael, have you ever been to Provincetown?
I think I had a production there of They Chose Me, my musical about adoption, is seen through the eyes of kids. So that was and it was a lovely experience. Yeah,
it's just beautiful.
Ray, if you were to pick 3 top things in Provincetown that you absolutely, are must-dos for everyone that goes to Provincetown, in addition to going to the Post Office Cafe on August 5th. What are those must-do things that everyone must do when they go to Provincetown?
Well,
if we agree.
Yeah, you have to go along the dock, the main pier, and get a lobster roll because it's delicious. And then you just get it. You walk up to the window, you get your lobster roll and coleslaw, and just sit on a bench. And it just, especially in the afternoon, it's beautiful as the sun is kind of setting. You just have a lobster roll. There's nothing better.
Except for the lobster.
Except for, yeah. And then I think a must do is you have to go for a walk. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's Commercial Boulevard where everything is, but you have to go for a walk. You have to go the blocks behind and just, it's a must do. You must walk.
It's a walking town.
And you have to see these beautiful cottages that, have been upkept since they're 1800s built. They were fishermen cottages, and they're just so beautiful. And if you don't walk around through those blocks off of Commercial or the other end of town, you just would never even experience them. And they're so beautiful. And I think you just have to go to shows. I mean, I saw my friend Tina Burner. We shared the same musical director. She was on RuPaul's Drag Race. I went and saw her show. It's at the Crown and Anchor, and it was absolutely hilarious. Yeah. She's an incredible singer. Her and my musical director Blake, who is her musical director, who plays live.
Blake Allen, everyone.
Yeah, he plays keyboards, and they wrote. It's all about Broadway, and they wrote parody lyrics, and it's hilarious. I said to her, I don't know how they do it. She's singing, tap dancing, changing clothes 4 times, jumping up and down. I'm like,
And is she there for the whole summer?
Whole summer.
I will check her out. I will
Yeah,
definitely
she's
check her out.
so fantastic.
Please let her know. I'd love to have her come on the show.
Yeah, she's terrific. She is.
Sounds like Ann Miller.
Oh, it was like unbelievable. I said to her, how do you do this? She was like, well, you just do it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's why I'm 65 and she's like 35. So, come on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great stuff.
Did you see any other shows that you were there? Of course, you saw the shows because of Cabaret Fest.
Well, yeah, I mean, my gosh, there were 3 and 4 shows a day for Cabaret Fest that it was just like never ending. I was so exhausted. I mean, you're going to shows constantly and getting up and, teaching and doing all this stuff. I mean, I saw so many artists locals from Boston who did shows. And of course, there was Meg Flather and Karen Mack and Elliot and Marty Millett. I mean, there were so many people. Warren Shine. I mean, it was just, it was like nonstop. It was so amazing. And it was just really, really special.
I happened to, when we took our vacation last year, we happened to get there on the last night of Cabaret Fest. We saw Natalie Douglas and Karen Mason, and it's just a great, great time to be there. Anyone, if you're planning your vacations, it's a great time to be there. May I get a little political with you, Ray? Do you mind?
Of course.
This is Pride Month. And are you doing anything for Pride Month here in New York?
So, I mean, look, I came out in 1974.
Mm-hmm.
One of my best friends was Larry Kramer. So for me not to sort of take a political stance after all these years, I have no choice. Otherwise, Larry would be screaming from his grave.
Mm-hmm.
I am part of the committee for I work, I'm on the National LGBTQ board for SAG-AFTRA. We'll be marching in the parade, so we've been working and arranging on that.
Marching with equity, so we're
which is
union strong.
Union strong. I've been marching with the WGA, and we're in our negotiations now. And then every day on my Facebook, on Ray DeForest's Facebook, I've for years now, I post, "Do you know your pride?" So starting June 1st, every day on my Facebook, I post a piece of Pride history because it's so important to not ever lose the fight that we've been through, especially politically now, where many states, where 17 states are passing anti-drag laws. So it's very important.
What's the history that you posted today?
Today's post, oh my gosh, today's post was kind of a heavy post. It was... hold on, let me think, because I post so many of these. Today's post was, I talked about the Pride Parade, and I talked about the 1970 one-year anniversary of the Stonewall riots. The Gay Liberation Front organized a march. I talked about the Christopher Street Liberation Day was celebrated with the parade from Stonewall Inn. About some of the people in the parade that have been interviewed and what they talked about. I also, in 2011, the presidential proclamation delivered by President Obama officially designated June to be LGBT Pride Month. And then, of course, in 2018, the White House refused to recognize the LGBTQ community. And in 2020, the POTUS said no embassy may fly the gay flag. Mr. Trump. In 2019, the Trump Justice Department made the most aggressive anti-gay legal argument to date, urging the Supreme Court to rule that gay employees are not protected under the long-standing act that prohibits sex discrimination, but it lost.
And are you aware that he is selling LGBTQ merchandise?
Yes, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Of course, then Joe Biden passed in June 2021. He passed that June would be the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Pride Month. So I mean, it seems just like every step we go forward, we go backward. Every rights, whether you're in the LGBT community, the people of color community, the Jewish community, all of our communities are constantly being attacked, which is why I post every day a piece of our history, because we must always remember the fight that it took us to get here, because there are many people that are willing to reverse us back to where we were. So,
And Michael,
really
you are an
important.
ally of our community, so I will put that out there. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, I was very much, three of my best friends were uh, were among the first AIDS victims, and one of them died, and I cried for a year. And my son is gay, and being Jewish, I'm also aware of what's going on. The anti. In fact, I was hacked yesterday on my Facebook page by someone who put anti-Semitic photos on it. And I mean, I grew up and I was pretty much an all-American Jew. I didn't face much anti-Semitism, but I'm terrified right now. And,
Hmm.
It's really scary. It's really scary. I mean, look, I'm doing shows as Doris Deer, and I mean, I have to think about it. I've been invited to. I'm from Staten Island, thus my shows write itself. I mean, come on. I mean,
That's true. That's true.
there's a lot to tell about Staten
Rhode
Island.
Island is famous for you, so that.
Well, two things that I want to say. First of all, it's been 10 years since I last appeared as Carol Channing. The last time I appeared in Provincetown, I was performing as Carol. For 20 years, I performed, and none of this stuff ever happened. I performed in March at Crazy Aunt Helen's in Washington, D.C. And on Sunday afternoons, they do drag time story hour. Or they do a drag brunch on Sundays. And when I performed on Saturday night, and I did not know this until after the fact, they got a bomb threat at the venue. Not because specifically because of my show, but because of what was happening the next day as part of this cabaret festival that was going on there that week. That's number one. Number two, Danny and I have been together for 34 years. We have been legally wed for 21 years. And there is for the first time, there is a man down the street who has I'm not going to use the word, an F. Biden flag hanging from his front porch. And I can see it when I walk out the front door. Directly in front of our house, our church has a LGBTQ flag welcoming everyone to its church. Thank God. And that is what I focus on instead of what's down the street. But I go, 34 years I've lived here, and this is the first time that I've seen hatred on Valentine Avenue where I live. So it's and everyone has to get political now. Everyone. I don't care who you are. And
yeah, it's very important. I spoke last month. I spoke at Fordham Law School here in New York City on the anti-drag laws and gender and the gender issues that we're all facing. It was an amazing day, very political. It's scary. We have 17 states passing anti-drag laws. The Proud Boys showed up in Brooklyn, in Chicago. I think Chicago. They a group of Nazis showed up with swastikas on their arms.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
Recently.
Yeah, recently. And I mean, it's very scary. And I mean, you can say what you want. I'm so disappointed in our political systems right now. You can all disagree. It's always been party politics, but the fact that we had a president that made it okay to put hate forward the way it has been put forward, and and become acceptable, it just blows my mind that anybody thinks that that's okay. And we can all have different political beliefs. We all have many different beliefs about many things, but to allow the kind of hate that is out there just is, I just can't even believe it sometimes. And it's terrible.
I can say that both Ray and Doris, depending on whatever persona you're wearing, and Michael too, we're all about love. We celebrate love. We share love that comes through in the work that we put out there. And I want to, focus a little bit on a love right now. And I want to share a couple of things. First of all, getting back to Flip Flop Day, I grew up in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and there's a great movie, if you've never seen it, called Shag.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen it?
Of course.
Yes, which was filmed in Myrtle Beach. It's all about the dance craze, Shag, which was a big... My parents, I saw Shag. And no, it's not what you think, folks. I saw my parents do this dance when I was growing up. And also tonight on TCM, it's a stormy night here in New York. It's going to be thunderstorms. Stay home, watch Turner Classic Movies, because Beach Blanket Bingo is on tonight.
One of my favorites.
My favorite movies. And I am...
With my old friend, Annette Funicello.
Was she actually a friend of yours?
Well, I mean, I was like a fake Mouseketeer for Disney, and Annette would go on the road with us on occasion.
Wow.
And it was right before she got sick, and then she started not coming with us, and then we found out she had MS, which she then suffered from for a long time. But yeah, she was great. She was always talking about Walt and you kids have to behave, and we were like, us kids are 22. you know?
Do either of you know what happened on this date in 1978?
No. Someone was born.
What was that?
Someone was born.
A movie opened.
Oh.
A movie that was like the...
Star Wars?
No. It had a beach theme almost, but it was a huge, no.
Where the boys are.
No, not 1978. Do you give up? See if anyone guesses watching. I'm going to show you. Here it is.
Oh, yeah, wow.
On this date in 1978. So big. Did you either of you see it when it first came around?
Oh, I remember I was at 1978. I was at University of Maryland, and I went on a date. And a young, beautiful gentleman took me on a date, and we waited online outside of a Washington, D.C. theater and saw Grease.
Well, I know a lot about the history besides reading the book. It started in Chicago, and it was very grungy. And Polly Penn, who was in my show Charlotte Sweet, was in it. And then Kenny Waisman saw it and wanted to revamp it. And he brought in a whole new company. I think he did offer it to Mary Lou Henner, who was in the...
Yeah, that's right. And he offered her to... she had an opportunity to invest in it.
Yeah.
And she said the biggest regret of her life is that she said, this is never going to go anywhere.
Well, years later, Kenny, when I was working at the Musical Theater Lab, the first organization, nonprofit, to develop musicals, that's where Alfred Urey, when he was about to give up his career, got a boost from the Robert Bridegroom. Anyway, everyone wanted Ken Waisman to pick up their show. And then I did my showcase of Charlotte Sweet, and he offered to produce it, but he wanted to bring in his own company like he did Grease. And I turned him down because I was not going to turn my back on the people that were so responsible for it. Mm-hmm. And Ken and I are friends now, but I've never regretted that.
Well, good for you. Sometimes you have to hold on to, but years ago, Dodie Goodman and I were very close friends, and we were performing at Georgian College in Toms River. And the day that we were doing the show, and this was before I had a cell phone. I don't even think that cell phones existed at that time, but I was heading to her home, and then we had a car service that was going to take us to the college. And I'm on the bus, and someone, unfortunately, this is the tragic part of the story, jumped off the George Washington Bridge that day. So traffic was backed up. By the time I got to Dodie, we were already going to be late. So the driver was like speeding to get to the college, and we were pulled over by a cop. And the driver said, "I'm sorry, officer, but I have Jody Goodman and Carol Channing in the back seat of the car." I wasn't dressed as Carol, but Jody Goodman rolled the window down and she said, "I was in Greece." And he said, "Oh, I recognize you." And he let us go. She was so wonderful. I was so lucky, you know.
Gremlins.
Good friends. So I'm going to have a little fun with both of you. We're going to talk about creativity and process and all of that.
Am I the only one whose screen is freezing?
No, I think it, you know, it happens. It goes through waves. But Ray, when you said that you recently taught in Provincetown, what was the crux or the thrust of your class, if you will? And is this something that you will be doing again?
Yeah, so it was a really great class, 2.5 hours. It was called Cabaret Business from Voice to Body to Mind and Making It Work as One. So it, you know, I had 2.5 hours, and in 2.5 hours you can only get so much done. But you know, it was an overview. I think look, in cabaret, it's hard to make a living in cabaret. I'm very, very lucky that I have a good following, and I actually make a living doing cabaret along with acting and other stuff. But so a lot of cabaret people, they do it because they want to, but they end up spending a lot of money and not making money off tickets. So it was sort of a quick lesson in business. I talked to them about what an elevator pitch was, what a bio is. I'm always amazed that, like, when I do my Christmas show, you've been to it many times, when I have all these guests and then I have to do promo work, and I try to find a decent picture, headshot of them or a bio of them. And these are people who do Broadway and the opera, and there's nothing. They don't have websites. They don't have, and you're like, and you know this because you go through this. And I'm like, how can you be in this business and not, these are basic tools that my agents back in the 80s said, okay, headshots, bios, as soon as you could get your own website, get a website. I mean, these are kind of basic tools if you want to work in the business. So we went through that. But then we talked about, Doris Deer, I created 9 years ago, and my mother was passing from Alzheimer's. I was, 56 years old. I had not really done drag. And I created this character. It's just a character for me. I'm an actor. And it just worked because I'm a storyteller almost before I've been a singer my whole life, but I'm a storyteller. So it was just a device to do storytelling. And now it's like 90% of my career, when I thought it would be one night. And you know what that's like? You do something and then it takes off. Well, ride the wave. Who knows where it's going? And this is going really well for me. So we talked a lot about, I had people sing the one song they brought to class, and we talked about how to find the story within a song and how to find their own character for when they do shows. Because even if you're playing yourself, even if I'm doing Ray in a show, it's still a theatrical version of who I am. It may be real life stories and stuff, but
Liza Minnelli, said that Liza Minnelli on stage is a character that she created.
Right, absolutely. And it's hard because you have to find the balance between a character and authenticity, especially in cabaret, because you're like 3 feet from the people. It's not like being on a Broadway stage where it's all very sort of, separate.
I'll tell you, one exception was Kitty Carlisle. She was just as lovely and gracious, and that was her persona. What you saw is how she was. And like the ultimate good version of that.
Yeah, I mean, I always say Doris Deer is the nicer version of Ray DeForest.
But I want to, jump in here, Ray. The thing about you is that, first of all, you are an incredible businessman. You and I have had many conversations about, you have fought for what is right and ethical, in terms of what you deserve, what you desire, and what you require, for your success in this business. And that's part of the package as well. When I was performing as Carol Channing, and I made a very good living at it, and hopefully getting back to what I'm doing, I'm using the same skill set to do this. When someone said, "Are you going to bring it to New York?" and I said, "Yes," when someone produces me, because I'm in this to make money at this, and I'm not going to. The paradigm of New York City cabaret, unfortunately, and our community has done this, and I say our because we're all responsible. We've all had a hand in this. I don't care who you are. We have hung ourselves in terms of what we have allowed to happen in cabaret. When
Well, we
we're not
the added problems of surviving COVID and economics that have spiraled out of control.
But Michael, when a venue will send an email to a performer to tell the performer that they have no audience, and the venue could very easily, it takes very little effort. I have a newsletter. Ray DeForest has a newsletter. You have a newsletter, I think, or you do an e-blast. It takes very little effort to send out an e-blast saying this is who is appearing on our stage tonight. And it takes very little effort to send out a newsletter saying this is who is appearing here this week. And if the clubs, and this is my little rant on this, would have 15 quality acts instead of 150 acts that can't bring in an audience, then the paradigm is going to shift and it's going to change. You don't see that happening at the Carlisle. You don't see it happening at 54 Below, but you see it happening in these other rooms. And the other rooms, with all due respect, because I know how difficult it is to run these rooms, it takes very little effort to push a button and send out an e-blast. And West Bank, because they are floundering, have picked up on this, and they are starting to do it. I get a newsletter each week, and I thank them. I go, you make it easy for me. And when I get this, I can go on and say, I can bring these people on my show, and I can do a group show, and I can talk about what's going on in cabaret. And there are ways that we can all work together to make it succeed. But what happens is that every time someone says, I'm not going to work under those conditions, there are 25 people waiting in the wings who will say, I am willing to do it for the exposure, and they will do it, and those things don't get fixed. And
I get asked every time I go to see someone's show at Chelsea Stage, Green Room 42, they'll come up and say, what do we have to do to get you booked here? And I tell them what my deal is. And then they look at me and go, oh, no, we can't possibly do that. Well, that's why I stay where I stay. And I did a full year at 54 Below. And quite honestly, it's a beautiful room. It was the most miserable experience I ever had at a club. It was horrible. And I couldn't make any money there. I mean, there is prestige because, look, if you want a career, you have to make those choices sometimes. I can do a place, maybe not make any money, but I'm going to be in front of an audience that has never seen me, and that increases my audience in ways that's the reason to do the show. Or there's all different reasons, but it's so hard, and it's all put on the artist. That's what I don't like. What I don't like is that 54 Below I'm doing my tech-in at 3 p.m. on show day, and they're sending me text messages. Have you done enough press? We need more tickets from you. I'm in tech. Can you leave me alone? What have you done? And meanwhile, let me just say that 54 Below holds like 142 people, and I averaged like 120 tickets per show, and it wasn't enough. And then they told me, we can't afford to have you. We can't make enough money off you. Yeah, it was so crazy. Meanwhile, I'm almost selling out. I mean, the clubs it's just so tough, and I get it. There's that side that the economics of running a club in New York City anymore. It's super expensive. The rent, between the rent and the salaries for staff and all of that kind of stuff. I get it. But they do nothing to really promote us. And yes, okay, they'll send an email blast, but there's so many people on that email blast sometimes. Who's scrolling? You know, when you're at the bottom, people don't even get to see you half the time. It's a very hard situation, which is why people like you and all of us here on here today take it upon ourselves. We all have our lists. I have a big list. You have a big list. I send those emails out. And I have people say, like, you send a lot of emails out. Yes, I do, because I have a show coming up in 30 days and I have to fill that room. And we know that's what it takes. I spend my own money. I take ads on Facebook. I pay for ads on Instagram. I pay for those ads out of my own pocket because the clubs don't do it. And I had a club tell me, a 22-year-old person in charge of marketing for a club said to me, well, honey, you probably don't understand how Google Analytics work. And I said, honey, I was a tester for Google Analytics ads for entertainers when they first started them before you were born. So I think I know how Google Analytics work way better than you do. But it's just it's
the wrong person.
Again, I want to say that I respect the positions of every person out there.
Of course.
And I desire for every single room in New York City to be operating at capacity. I went the other night to see Goldie DeVere. By the way, she's got another performance, I think, on Sunday night. Go, go, go. One of the best shows I've seen in a long, long time. I absolutely loved her show. James Beeman did an incredible job directing her. I can't see as many shows as I would like to see because of the economics. And
it's expensive.
Even when we're, if someone says, oh, we'll comp you in, it's gas and tolls and parking and all these other things. No, I don't hate anyone, Pam. I don't, because they are working within the paradigm of what they think they know. And I respect that. It's not always, but I am saying that there are ways of working around that. It's an expensive night out. And now, on top of everything else, because Danny and I live in Rockland County, they are trying to pass a law that anything, if we come into the city, there's going to be an expense to come into the city because we don't have a New York City license plate. It constantly adds up and adds up and adds up. And
it's really hard. And look, it's expensive. It's expensive. My Christmas show, I have a six-piece orchestra. And some of those musicians double up. I have 7 to 9 guests who I pay to be in my show. Plus, I have to rehearse. And, it's not cheap. Just to get to that opening night is not cheap for me. I mean, I'm laying out a lot of money in hopes that I'll recoup it. And I'm very lucky that Christmas show has developed the following it does. I do very well. The Triad Theater is like family to me. They're so wonderful. When I got COVID and canceled 2 nights before, 3 nights sold out.
Tonight on Chelsea Pier, Marilyn Lester, they were supposed to do a Tin Pan Alley event tonight with Danny Bucker, and Danny and I were going to go in tonight to see this. It was a free event on the pier. Well, guess what? The weather is bad. It got canceled, and they didn't have a rain date. So
I don't have to feel guilty. I go to see everything Danny's doing, and I said, I can't go tonight. Well,
no, see, it's karma. You can't go, and it's not happening.
It's all Michael's fault. They knew he couldn't come.
No,
it's hard, though. Look, it's hard. I think.
Blame it on the bossa nova or me.
And I know with you, Michael, and Ray, and especially you, Michael, because you have written for so many people. You've done shows that so many artists have appeared in, and Ray, so many artists have appeared in your shows, both your virtual show and your live shows, that on any given night, if the three of us went to see a show every night this week, and we saw two shows every night this week, we still wouldn't see everything that's out there.
Or on one given night, you can have three of those people you want to be supportive of.
And
it's hard. Look, it's really hard. It's expensive. I mean, you know, clubs say to me, you should charge more for your ticket. And I'm like, okay, it's all, you know, like before you know it, with the 2-drink minimum or whatever the minimums are, it's $100 a person night. And that's not cheap. And if they're coming from like Long Island or Staten Island or upstate, now you've got gas and parking. And if they want to have dinner, it's expensive. They're spending what they could buy. They could go to the TKTS booth and get a Broadway ticket. It's really tough.
I'll tell you a very interesting story. Years ago, I get a phone call from Tommy Toon's assistant, Peter, and he calls me in the afternoon and he said, "We need you to do your magic because Tommy doesn't have this is Tommy Toon, everyone. Tommy doesn't have an audience tonight at the Carlisle." And I go, "Well, who's doing his press?" "Well, they really haven't done that much tonight to get, you know." And I said, "Okay, let me see what I could do." Now, Marta Sanders and Gordon and Danny and I were going out to dinner that night at a nice little Italian restaurant on 46th Street. And I called Marta and I said, "Marta, how would you like to go to the Carlisle tonight to see Tommy Toon? And before you say anything, it's on me." And she said, "Well, I can't argue with that. Of course we'll go." So I call, we go, and I'm making phone calls all afternoon. "Please go see Tommy." Well, Danny and I were comped in for the show. We still paid for dinner. And I picked up Gordon and Marta's cover and their dinner. And it was $700.
Yeah.
And I thought Danny was going to have a heart attack when he saw me sign the check. It was an expensive night out. And he said, "You can't do that again." And I said, "Well, I couldn't ask." Gordon offered to even pay for his drinks. I said, "No, you are my guest tonight." And, you know, and then, you know, and then, you know, even to go into a room that, you know, if you want to take friends out and you want to treat them, it's cost prohibitive to do that.
Yeah, it's really, it's outrageous. And
take my friends out once in a while.
Yeah, and look, I want people in my shows. I want them to, you know, come in and do it. And it's just tough. And the clubs obviously have to make their money. Again, New York's expensive. So, you know, they keep changing the minimums. From a lot of places had 2-drink minimums, which could include water and soda. So you could sort of edge out a little cheaper. But then it became, some places it's a $25 minimum, where in certain clubs I've worked, a drink is $22. So guess what? Now you got to buy 2. Now you're at $44 plus a tip, plus a thing. Now you're over $100 a person.
Then there's
go ahead, Michael. I'm sorry.
There's the other side of that. I was very close to Julie Wilson and Sylvia Sims. And at the Algonquin, there were nights where Julie Wilson would play to 2 or 3 people, and she would give it her all. I went to Sylvia Sims' opening night in Atlantic City. Sinatra had gotten her in. There were 3 people there, and she was brilliant. She was brilliant. You knew how she must have felt. But, you know, it's just it's not easy to have that built-in audience with the astronomical cost and the competition. It's just, you got to be a real warrior.
You have to be a warrior. And I will say this for anyone out there, if any club owners are watching this, I love when I can go to a supper club and have dinner. But these venues where, you know, I don't drink, and the 2-drink minimum is antiquated. It has to be wiped off the slate altogether. Get rid of it. Have a flat fee that includes a a drink in that. I used to perform at a place called the Bradstand Inn in the Catskills. One of my favorite places to perform. They charged a $35 cover. And in that $35 cover, you could have either a dessert or a non-alcoholic beverage. If you had a cocktail or a beer, you had to pay extra for that. A glass of wine was included, because let's face it, the wine that they're serving in these is not top of the line.
It should be used for salad.
Yeah, that's right. So before we go, Michael, you first of all, and then I'm going to give you each a chance to have your final word, but this is not it right now. Michael, something, and it could be other lives, anything you want to plug right now, and how people can get in touch with you. And I'm going to have the information on my YouTube channel as well. So anything you want to plug right now.
I've gone from the slumps of nothing to now being really rich with activities besides other lives, which the fact that John Yeko picked it up and just wanted to do it, that was like a miracle to me. But I've become so popular at urban stages that Francis Hill has asked me to write 2 shows for next year at the Winter Rhythms. The first one is going to be Nights at the Algonquin, which is going to be their gala. It's going to be a celebration with stars of the Algonquin, from Steve Ross to K.T. Sullivan, Jeff Harner, just all these wonderful people, and I'm throwing in Natalie Douglas so she'll sing a song of mine, and then the other show I'm doing there is Created at the Algonquin, which are shows that were in part or fully written at the Algonquin, like My Fair Lady and Camelot, and Noel Coward's Sail Away, and My Charlotte Sweet, and a few others, and it's going to be a wonderful event. And I've got so many things happening, some of which I can't announce yet, but
Well, send them to me and I will get them all announced. You know I will.
I am just, my cup not only runneth over, but it's flooding my balcony. Anyway.
And if you tune into Mrs. Maisel, you can see the drunken Michael Colby. I saw the clip.
I'm a non-drinker and I have a drunk scene on that.
I know, and you do it brilliantly too, I might add. Ray, and tell everybody, of course, about your incredible series. That's just wonderful.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So Broadway on Demand, we are in season 4. I do a show, Doris Steers Girl Talk, where I tell stories, make cocktails, and interview amazing people. This is our 4th season, which we just won our 3rd Telly Award for. I'm very excited. This season, I had Sandy Duncan, her husband Don Correa, and just a host. You can watch the first 3 seasons are on my YouTube channel for free. Broadway on Demand, you have to pay for season 4. It's just been a great experience doing that. And then coming up in October 14th, I'm at the St. George Theater. I am going home to Staten Island, the most conservative part of New York City. The St. George Theater has invited me to do my show over at the St. George Theater, which is quite amazing, on Saturday, October 14th. And then I am bringing my new show, my Slightly Sondheim show, which I just did in P-Town. I'm bringing that to the Triad Theater on September 22nd at 7 p.m. And then, of course, I have my fabulous Christmas show, in mid-December at the Triad Theater. And I'm teaching at the Count Basie Theater Center down in New Jersey this summer for their summer theater camp. It's like crazy. I love it. I love being busy.
I love it all. Don't go anywhere, because I'm going to give you each a chance to give your final word today. And your final word can be about anything you want it to be. It could be about anything that we spoke about that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any final message you want to leave everyone with today. Once again, everyone, go to Ray DeForest website, Doris Steers website, and order flip-flops. Doris Deer flip-flops. Show them up again.
Wait.
So buy the flip-flops and then come to Provincetown, wear your flip-flops, I'll throw in a Richard Skipper Celebrates mug to go with the flip-flops at the show. I'm going to be there on August 5th, which is my 44th anniversary of arriving in New York. And this show is going to be, I'm taking questions from the audience, but it's really going to be about my years performing in Provincetown. And I've got some hilarious stories about the ups and downs of what it's like to perform in Provincetown. And I hope that you'll be there. Ray, tell everybody you know in Provincetown. Send them my way. And I'll return the favor for you as well, always. I end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Please pick up the phone and call someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, but a phone call. And let that person know that they've made a difference in your life. And trust me, you'll make a difference in their life by doing so. I have a dear friend, Sean Moniger. He says, we're all in the same storm, but we're in different size boats. And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you have a skipper by your side. And with that, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Michael. And when you finish, it's yours, Ray. And when you say so long, the final credits will roll. I love you both so much. I want to thank you both for the gifts that you give to our community and that you're going to continue to give. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's all yours, Michael.
My message is, this is a time where narcissism is running wild, and you have to look beyond yourself. Not just call the people who can help you, but think of the people who have helped you, who may need to hear from you right now. I've called people who I've thought are among the great talents of all time, who are now going through hard times, and have reminded them how much their performance, their friendship, their just essence has meant to me and other people. So I just really want to reach out right now. It's a tough time for many. And even I don't mention all the good. I don't mention to them all the good things that are happening to me. I just say it's a wonderful time, and I owe so much to you.
Awesome. Well, first I want to say that I have very big boats. And if you've been to my Facebook, you see my shoe collection. Thank you, Richard, for this. I would recommend, since it is National Flip-Flop Day, put on your flip-flops, take a walk on the beach, take them off, wiggle your feet in the sand, and just look at the water. It's been proven that taking in the view of the water, hearing the sound of the water, it brings a calming, positive state of mind. And I think we could all use a little more positive state of mind. So relax, take a deep breath, let the salt come into you, and smile. Let's all smile a little more. I'm sending hugs and love from Ray DeForest and Doris Deer. Thank you.